The temporary light at mile 309 glowed an angry red against the sagebrush, a one-eyed stop sign in the middle of nowhere. The board beside it said 1 lane, wait for pilot SAR. Midnight lay over the high desert like a dropped blanket. Heat rose out of the asphalt in slow breaths. My windshield was seeded with moths that had forgotten how to stop. I killed the radio, cracked the window, and listened to nothing. No other engines, no wind. Just the tiny electrical whine of the portable signal and the slow cool-down ticks from my own car. Amber flashed in the dark beyond the barricades, far down the grade. A pickup crested the hill with a light bar and an LED tailgate sign that read "Follow me" in square, official letters. It didn't idle like a normal truck. The engine note was a steady tone, the kind a generator makes when it's proud of itself. The driver was a silhouette in a hard hat. I glanced in the mirror, 2 sets of headlights stacked behind me from nowhere. We fell into a line like teeth. The light went green. The pilot rolled forward without a wave. Cones narrowed the world to a single dark ribbon. K-rail on one side, drop on the other. Fresh paint glowed like a vein. My phone vibrated on the dash. Roadwork info, AM 1710. I turned the knob. A man's voice came through Bud by sand. Night convoy beginning. Do not pass. Do not stop. Keep headlights on dim. Remain in center of lane. The word center carried an extra ounce I didn't like. Up ahead, the pilot tapped its brakes in a pattern. For quick, for slow, too quick. Then the tailgate sign flickered and refreshed. Follow me again. We climbed a grade cut into the hillside. Equipment slept in the median, graders with sun-peeled paint, a paver with a tarp tied in a knot that had chewed through itself. The pilot kept an exact 17 miles per hour as if welded to it. At a turnout, a flagger stood with a slow/stop paddle that said slow on both sides. He didn't look at us. He held his pose like a page in a manual. I tried to spot his face and saw only the way light skids off a dirty visor. The AM voice said, "Thank you for your patience since closure." And the year it named had been 10 years ago. The grade leveled out at a bridge that was 2 bridges stitched together. Old truss and new concrete, ribs over bones. Work lights threw a snowfield of moths into the beam. We didn't cross. We slid along scaffolding that ran beside it, a temporary catwalk of timbers and steel where the shoulders should be. The pilot's brake lights flashed that 442 again before every seam. Mind the gaps, the radio breathed. My tires hummed different notes for each plank joint as if I were playing a song I didn't know. The AM bed music changed to something from a training tape, soft synth pads, and the sound of paper turning. Silver sedan. The voice said, calm and specific, increased distance. I did before my brain caught up that I drive one. The pilot sign flickered. Follow me became return for 1 frame, then back. Off the passenger side, past the K-rail, the valley fell away in a single ink wash. A gust came up from below smelling like cold metal and rain that hadn't learned to fall yet. We entered a section boxed in with plywood, the kind they build over sidewalks to catch falling tools. My headlights pushed pale rectangles down the tunnel's throat. The brake pattern became steady, 442 at each cross brace. The world reduced to the pilot's tailgate and a small square of my own hood. In the mirror, the car behind me had fallen back, then forward, then back again without moving, like a reflection in a shaker of water. The radio said, "Do not look to the sides," gently enough to make you want to disobey. I disobeyed. Between gaps in the plywood, I saw the real bridge, the truss span. In 3/4 out, its last section sheared clean as a slice of cake. The black beyond it wasn't sky or river. It was a kind of weather you can't forecast, a depth that has nothing to do with distance. At the far lip, a scattering of yellow flowers had made a home in concrete dust. The pilot's light bar ticked left twice as if it had seen me look. The tailgate sign stuttered. Follow me, merge, stay center. We came out of the box into a clearing under work lights that hummed like bees trapped in plastic. The pilot rolled onto a wide, flat pad of new asphalt with saw cuts like graph paper. At the far end, a curtain of black geotextile hung where the night should be. The other cars in the convoy, 2, 3, maybe 4, kept their place without wavering. No silhouettes moved in their cabins. The AM voice, which had been a man, became a woman with the same patience. Relief area. Remain in pattern. Vehicles will be processed. The pilot stopped. The sign flipped to INCH forward. The first car obeyed, nose to the fabric. The fabric pulled it through as if it were a picture sliding behind a slide projector. The taillights pinched down to 2 red commas, then vanished. I didn't move. My foot pressed the brake so hard it ached all the way up my shin. The INCH forward ticked imperceptibly brighter. The pilot tapped 442 again, patient as a metronome in a quiet room. The AM bed faded to silence. I could hear the moths throwing themselves against the light diffusers. The second car rolled obediently into the black and disappeared without sound. The third followed, same pace, no brake flare, no correction. My hands started to sweat. I put the car in reverse 2 teeth. The pilot backed up in perfect sync, its sign changing. No animation now, just letters like a mouth. Stay. I cut across the chalk lines with a hard right and bounced over a soft cone. The tire thumped, and the car gave me a polite ding as if I'd changed lanes without signaling. The pickup pivoted like a compass needle, slower than a human would, as if someone had to turn the truck with both hands from underwater. I pinned the wheel and threaded back along the plywood tunnel, letting the wood knock sense back into me. In the mirror, the pilot held the pad, amber painting the moths in copper, stay pulsing. The flagger reappeared with his 2-sided slow sign and the visor that swallowed faces. The AM voice was close now, as if inside the glove box. Turn around, it suggested. Relief is ahead. I didn't touch the radio. I broke through the last cone gate into empty road and into the red blink of the original temporary light, as if we'd made a circle without turning once. A patrol pickup with real plates and hand-lettered mud on the fenders sat at the shoulder. A human man in a human hat waved me through the closed lane with a flashlight and a face. In my rear view, the work zone behind us was just a string of cones and a sign tipped down flat. The officer's PA said, "Keep moving, ma'am." Ordinary as French fries. The portable message board beside him, dark until that second, woke and scrolled. Night convoy suspended. Reports of pilot SAR impersonation. Do not follow unmarked vehicles. At the motel 20 miles on, the clerk slid me a key on a ring and a receipt with a footer the printer hadn't been taught. Thank you for staying in center lane in highway font. I slept with the AC on loud and dreamed of brake lights and patterns that meant a word I knew in another life. In the morning, I hosed moth wax off my bumper at a gas station. The water ran gray, then clear. A bug wing stuck to my knuckle, a good luck coin I didn't want. I drove back roads home. On hot nights now, when construction signs blink to life and the desert holds its breath hard enough to hear paint cure, I ignore M1710. I count my own miles. And if an amber bar winks at me from the dark with letters that promise help, I keep my eyes on the stripe and my hands in the middle and remember that some vehicles don't escort you through, only 2. The Tulane cut through the marsh like a zipper no one had finished closing. Midnight had soaked into everything. Ditch water, cattails, the cracked windshield, and the air tasted like pennies and heat. I just finished a late airport drop and flipped my rideshare app to available for one last fare. Surge popped red over a gray smear called Old Ferry Turnaround. 10 minutes away, good payout, then home. The app pinned a dot beside the water where the causeway narrowed to a spit of gravel. Rider name, return trip. No profile photo, no rating. The pickup note said, center of the road. The map zoomed in by itself, and the blue line adjusted from the right will track to kiss the yellow center line like it mattered. I glanced at the rear view. Nothing back there but the kind of dark that swallows taillights whole. Cicadas sawed at the edges of the closed windows. The AC fan made a tired note and stayed there. At mile 17, a reflective arrow sign winked like a sleepy eye. The cattails grew higher, tight as a crowd. The radio, left on scan to keep my brain from filling the car, caught a channel for a second. Not music. A single clean ping like a sonar, a pause, then a man's voice soft as a boat wake. Keep to the center. I stabbed the button. Static. The next station was a preacher urging the faithful to stay the course. The yellow paint on the road thickened under my headlights, fresh like someone had laid it down before sunset. Fog unrolled low across the asphalt like someone had shaken out a sheet. My phone vibrated. Your rider is nearby. The map pulsed a blue ring around the gravel spur that pretended to be a turn lane. When I eased onto it, the tires sang over washboard. Gravel popped. I stopped at the end, where the black water made the rest of the world, and let the engine tick. My headlight beams threw 2 cones onto the cattails and made their shadows point at me. The app chimed. Ryder will be notified of your arrival. A second later, Ryder is approaching. He stepped out of the fog like a person would, if a person were remembering how. Tall, all elbows and long coat despite the heat. Hair slicked flat the way water presses it. No bag, no phone in his hand. He didn't knock, just opened the back door with a careful dignity, like a polite uncle at a funeral, and sat. The smell that came in with him was not rot, not mildew, something clean and cold, like the inside of a walk-in freezer at closing. In the mirror, his face was a little out of phase with itself, a half-second behind when he turned. The app flashed. Start trip? Destination, Old Ferry turnaround. I think the app glitched, I said, because saying anything felt safer than the engine's patient idle. It has me dropping you right where I picked you up. He looked at the back of my head and then, precisely late, at the back of my head again. It knows the way, he said. The voice had no accent I could place. It wasn't old, wasn't young, wasn't male so much as practiced in being heard. Center, he added, and folded his hands where I could see they were mistaken for clean. I tapped start because I was more afraid of not following the script the night had handed me. We rolled out onto the causeway. The yellow line glowed a little brighter as if warmed by the headlights, a path you could follow with your eyes closed. Water flanked us in black panels, and every now and then one panel shivered with something that broke the skin and forgot to go back under. The ETA stayed at 10 minutes, steady as a heartbeat. A dragonfly hit the glass and stuck, its wings handwriting a warning I couldn't read before the wind set it down. The passenger leaned a little forward, not enough to be rude, and said, "They painted it thicker after what never arrives if you don't ask." We passed a mile marker that said 17 again. The reflective numbers were the same scratches, the same bug splat at the corner. The app pinged. Weak signal. Trip may be affected. The map shrank to a blue dot on a gray bruise. From the ditch, frogs practiced saying yes to something and never got it right. The lane keep assist nudged my hands toward the line even when I didn't drift, a mother's palm at the back of a child's head. In the mirror, my passenger's eyes were wrong by a degree. They focused on the middle distance where there's nothing to see. Do you come out here often? The question leapt out wearing a stupid shirt. He smiled with only the exact muscles a smile needs. When it's hot, he said. When people are awake who don't want to be. Headlights appeared ahead, a low pair, the shape of some other sensible person making a bad choice. I lined up behind the paint and waited for the approach, but the lights did a thing lights don't do. They flattened, doubled, then pulled apart like a reflection on wave water when you rock a dock. The car that wasn't a car slid past us without sound, low and pale, and for a millisecond we were in the same shape. 2 vehicles moving through each other like breath. The radio found that ping again. 1 beat. 2. Then a woman's voice now. Center. Center. It put a cool hand on the back of my neck. I made the mistake of glancing right. In the ditch, tall grass made a circle where someone had sat a long time and then stood, a dry halo waiting for weather. A sign loomed, white on green, OLD Ferry turnaround. An arrow pointed to a gravel spur indistinguishable from the one we had left, right down to the 2 crushed beer cans winking like eyes. The app chimed, approaching destination. The ETA still said 10 minutes. I braked, slow, the way you do in rain. The passenger leaned forward again in that careful, slow way. Stop in the middle, he said. The AC fan turned 1 notch colder without me touching it. I put the car in park with the lever clacking like a polite cough. Is this where I let you out? It felt less like a question than asking a ritual if you're doing it right. He watched the center line as if a person might come walking down it, balancing a tray. Yes, he said. Just here. His hand hovered near the door handle, but didn't touch it. The app gave me the end trip button like a piece of candy. I didn't press it. He met my eyes in the mirror for the first time without delay. His pupils were perfect and wrong, deep as the marsh at noon. Don't look to the sides, he said, gentle as a good nurse. Don't look at who's asking. It's kinder that way. From the water, something slapped like a hand on a table. Road paint glowed. The ETA ticked to 9:59, then flicked back as if it had burned itself. Next time, he added, almost kindly, do not accept a pickup from the turnaround. I pressed in trip like a reflex. The receipt printed in my email immediately. Fare $0. Tip: thank you for staying in the center. When I looked back over my shoulder, the seat was wet where his coat had touched it, a clean wet that didn't smell like anything. The back door was closed. The gravel spur, if it was a spur, had moved a foot to the left as if embarrassed at being seen. I drove home at 50 with my hazards on, every bug in the county arriving at my windshield like new thoughts. At the sink, I cupped tap water to my face until the heat left the places it had been living. In the morning, the app sent a safety reminder about isolated pickups and a new toggle, avoid old ferry turnaround, recommended. On the seat behind me, the damp dried to a salt map shaped like a road I will not take again. When the next surge bubbles red over the marsh and the ping says center, I will swipe unavailable. I will tell myself the line is just paint, and I will watch the mirror only long enough to see nothing there and believe it. Midnight highway, blacktop warm as a stovetop, air like a wet towel. My cruise held at 72, the center line beating out a metronome. Nothing ahead but mile markers and the occasional possum flat as punctuation. I'd put 3 hours between me and the city, another 2 to go. The radio was low traffic reports and static. My phone map glowed a blue ribbon, the kind you forget is there until it's wrong. An overhead sign lit up out of darkness. Crash ahead. All traffic exit 214. The next panel blinked, then added, Silver Accord, stay in right lane. I drive a Silver Accord. I told myself the system was getting clever with plate scanners. I swallowed the little rise of heat anyway. The exit sign for 214 was still 10 miles out. The radio clicked to an emergency alert tone that never finished, a polite throat clear that didn't know what to say. My phone rerouted itself without asking, the blue ribbon turning pale and thin like a vein. A banner slid down, 511 incident, do not stop, remain in lane. It repeated in a soundless loop until I tapped it away. The map zoomed in on its own, and the little car chevron drifted of its own while half a lane to the right, then corrected. I killed Bluetooth and the radio died with it, as if the car had been listening through the speakers. Mile marker 213 slid by, then another 213, then a third 213. This one newer, its reflective green too clean in my high beams. I watched the odometer tick up like nothing was wrong. My dashcam app pinged. Autosave, incident detected. The thumbnail showed the road I was on, but the timestamp said +02:00, 2 minutes into the future. In the clip, flares bloomed, red on asphalt, and a state trooper leaned to my window with a palm up. His face was a smudge of reflective vest and night. The flares bloomed in real life, right on schedule. Little red suns teaching the road a new shape. Hazard lights lined the shoulder all the way to a silhouette of tractor trailers stacked like sleeping whales. A trooper stepped from the median and palmed me to the shoulder. He wore the hat wore the light. He didn't bend to my window, just tapped the glass twice with a gloved finger. The vest letters read incident response, but the ends were backward, like someone had ironed them on in a mirror. Take the cone lane to the relief area, he said. His voice had radio in it, as if he were speaking through the air around us instead of through his mouth. Cones made a vein on the right, stripes on black, pushing me off the highway onto a strip of new asphalt that hadn't met weather yet. The rumble strip whispered like a crowd. Ahead, tail lights slid obediently through a gap in the guardrail where no exit had ever been. The sign above the gap said relief in the same font the state uses for rest area. My hands went light on the wheel. In my side mirror, the trooper had no face, only the outbreak of my brake lights again and again in his sunglasses. My map labeled the lane service road. There was nothing on either side except the kind of dark that eats light. I drifted off the cone vein, and the tires sang a higher note. The trooper's glove hit my rear quarter panel, one thump, not angry, just a reminder. Stay in pattern, his not voice said from the AC vents. In the main lanes to my left, traffic had paused mid-breath. A minivan sat 3 feet from me, parallel, nose pointed into the black like it had grown into the place. Through the glass a family stared, faces bright in tablet light, not blinking. Their hazards clicked in exact sync with the flares, a metronome too perfect for human hands. The overhead sign updated, incident contained, remain. My phone rang with no number. The car answered without me. Highway incident response. A woman said, warm as a nurse. We're going to slow you to 15. Please merge to relief. Her calm was a blanket. How many cars are ahead of me? I asked. A pause long enough to be a thought. As many as last time, she said. As many as it takes. The dashcam pinged again. The new clip showed my hood nosing into a slick of shadow. A flatbed idled there with its bed down, empty and shining. Mile markers appeared where no markers should be, stuck in the grassy verge along the cone lane, white on black placards hand stenciled. 232, my apartment number 10 years ago, 08, my kid's sister's birth month, 17. The date my mother decided she'd had enough snow and left for Florida. The car asked if I wanted to engage adaptive cruise. The prompt wasn't my car's. Another prompt, remote assist requested, accept/decline. I hit decline hard enough to crack something in my thumb. The button offered itself again, patient. At the mouth of the relief lane, the cause of the crash revealed itself. A tanker jackknifed across the median, clean as a diagram. No dents, no skid on the black glass of road. Its logo read return in the same state font, letters the exact green of mile marker paint. The gap under the tanker, between its belly and the road, shimmered like heat over water. Tail lights ahead slid under the tanker's shine and went out like moths. The nurse voice softened. It helps if we don't remember. A little sign on the median read, authorized vehicles only. The median break beyond it was neatly mowed, grass as short as carpet. I cut across the paint and the rumble strip screamed. The cone I hit rolled like a body. The trooper turned his head too slow to be human. The AIC vent stuttered. Do not. As if the car had thought better of finishing. I bounced through the median, the suspension barked, and then I was in the empty southbound lanes. Wrong direction for a heartbeat before I corrected. In my rear view, the relief lane narrowed to a slit of red, flares pulsing like a wound underwater. The tanker with the return logo wasn't there from this side. There was only grass and the ordinary moon. I took exit 213A like it was a church door and pulled into a diner that still kept half its neon. Inside, TVs murmured cloudy weather over counties I'd just crossed. A crawl at the bottom read, multi-vehicle incident near mile 214. Officials asked drivers not to stop in active lanes. A man in a booth was watching a video on his phone of flares and a trooper with no face. It could have been mine. When I checked my dash cam, the last clip was labeled avoided and showed me walking into this diner 12 minutes from now, shaking rain off a jacket I wasn't wearing. The timestamp was correct when it got there. The waitress slid me water and a receipt with a smiley face. Under the total, the printer had hiccuped and spat a second line in highway font. Incident ahead, welcome back. I folded it into my wallet anyway, because some signs you ignore and some you carry, and sometimes the only way off a road is to leave it before it tells you where to go.